15 strange Russian fruits Americans have never seen. Hey guys, welcome back to Russian Grows. Today we're talking about something most Americans have never even heard of: Russian fruits. Now, when people think about Russia, they imagine snow, forests, maybe vodka, but not fruit. And that's a huge mistake. Russia actually has some of the strangest and most unique fruits on Earth. Some grow in frozen forests. Some grow in swamps. Some taste like 5 different flavors at the same time. Today, I'll show you 15 incredible fruits from Russia, tell you what they taste like, where they grow, and why people there love them. Some of them are delicious. Some are weird. And a few are so rare that even many Russians have never tried them. So if you like discovering unusual foods from around the world, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's start with something truly unusual. 1. Limonic. Schisandra berry. The first fruit is called limonic, pronounced limonic. In English, it's known as Schisandra berry. This fruit grows in the Russian Far East, mostly in forests near the Pacific Ocean. The berries are small and bright red, growing on long, climbing vines. But what makes this fruit really famous is its flavor. In Russia, people say this berry has 5 tastes at the same time: sweet, sour, bitter, salty, and slightly spicy. Imagine something like cranberries mixed with lemon and herbs. Hunters in Siberia used to eat these berries before long trips. They believed a handful could boost energy and focus for hours. Today, Russians use limonic to make tea, syrup, medicine, and sometimes jam. It ripens in late summer, usually in August and September. And it's still considered one of the most powerful natural energy fruits in Russian traditional medicine. But if you think that fruit was unusual, wait until you see the next one, because this berry looks like a blueberry, but tastes completely different. Number 2. Zimolost, honeysuckleberry / Haskap. This fruit is called zimolost, pronounced zimolost. In English, it's often called honeysuckleberry or Haskap. These berries grow mostly in Siberia and northern Russia, where winters are extremely cold. The fruit looks like an elongated blueberry, dark purple and soft. But the taste is very unique. Imagine blueberries mixed with raspberries and black currants. The flavor is sweet, slightly tart, and very aromatic. One of the most interesting things about zimolost is its season. It ripens incredibly early, sometimes in May, which makes it one of the first berries of the entire year. In Russia, people use it for jam, juice, desserts, pies, and even homemade wine. And here's something interesting. Farmers in Canada and the northern United States have recently started growing Haskap berries, so this Russian fruit might soon become much more common in America. Now let's go further north, because the next fruit grows in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Number 3. Moroshka, cloudberry. This golden berry is called moroshka, pronounced moroshka. In English, it's known as cloudberry. This fruit grows in Arctic regions, including northern Russia, Siberia, Scandinavia, and Alaska. But harvesting it is not easy. Cloudberries grow in wet swamps and tundra, often far from cities. The berries start red and turn golden orange when ripe, and they look like a golden raspberry. The flavor is very special, sweet, slightly sour, with a taste many people compare to apricot and honey. In Russia, cloudberry jam is considered a luxury delicacy. Historically, it was even served to Russian czars and royal families. In northern regions, people call it the gold of the tundra. And because the berry is fragile, it's rarely exported. So trying real cloudberries outside the Arctic is actually quite rare. Now, the next fruit is something you might have seen before, but probably never realized it grows everywhere in Russia. Number 4. Oblepikha, sea buckthorn. This bright orange fruit is called oblepikha, pronounced oblepikha. In English, it's known as sea buckthorn. These berries grow on thorny bushes across Russia, Mongolia, and Central Asia. The berries are small, round, and incredibly bright orange, and they are extremely nutritious. In fact, sea buckthorn contains more vitamin C than oranges. But here's the catch. Eating them raw is intense. They are very sour. So instead, Russians use them for juice, tea desserts, syrups, and oils. One of the most popular winter drinks in Russia is sea buckthorn tea with honey. It's sweet, sour, and very warming. And today, sea buckthorn oil is also used in skincare and cosmetics all over the world. So this small Russian berry has become a global superfood. All right, now the next fruit might look familiar, but it's actually the wild cousin of a fruit every American knows. Number 5. Actinidia, mini kiwi. This fruit is called actinidia, pronounced actinidia. It grows in forests of eastern Russia near the borders of China and Korea. At first glance, it looks like a tiny kiwi. But unlike regular kiwi, it has smooth skin, so you can eat it whole. The fruit is small, green inside, and incredibly sweet. The flavor is often described as kiwi mixed with strawberry and pineapple. Pretty amazing combination. These fruits ripen in early autumn and grow on climbing vines in the forest. Interestingly, modern kiwi fruit actually comes from plants related to actinidia. So this small Russian forest fruit is basically a wild cousin of the kiwi you buy in the grocery store. And many gardeners today grow these mini kiwis because they are much more resistant to cold weather. 6. Cheremuka, bird cherry. The next fruit is called cheremuka, pronounced cheremuha. In English, it's known as bird cherry. This small, dark fruit grows on trees across Siberia, the Urals, and northern Russia. The berries are tiny and almost black when ripe. But here's something unusual. Most people don't eat these berries fresh. Why? Because the seeds are very hard, and the flavor is extremely intense. Instead, in Russia, people dry the berries and grind them into flour. Yes, actual berry flour. This flour is then used to make traditional desserts, especially something called cheremuka cake. The cake has a very unique flavor. It tastes slightly like almonds mixed with chocolate and berries. The tree blooms in spring with beautiful white flowers that have a very strong aroma. In many Russian cities, when these trees bloom, the entire street smells sweet. And there's even a famous Russian saying, "When the bird cherry blooms, the cold returns," because a short cold period often comes during its flowering season. Now, the next fruit is something many Russians ate as kids, often straight from the bushes. 7. Irga, Juneberry/serviceberry. This fruit is called irga, pronounced irga. In English, it's usually called Juneberry or serviceberry. These berries grow on shrubs and small trees across Siberia and central Russia. They look a bit like blueberries, but slightly larger. The taste is very pleasant. Sweet, soft, and slightly nutty. Many people compare it to blueberries mixed with almonds. Irga ripens in early summer, usually around June, which is why it's called Juneberry in English. In Russia, children often pick these berries straight from the bushes in parks or gardens. People also use them for jam, juice pies, and compote, which is a traditional fruit drink. Another interesting fact: Irga plants are incredibly cold-resistant. They can survive temperatures below -40 degrees Celsius. So it's one of the few fruit plants that grow easily in extremely cold climates. Now let's move to a fruit that many Americans might recognize, but Russians use it in a very different way. 8. Kalina, Viburnum. This bright red fruit is called kalina, pronounced kalina. In English, it's known as Viburnum berry. These berries grow on shrubs across forests and fields throughout Russia. They are very beautiful. Bright red clusters hanging on branches, especially in autumn. But here's the surprising part. Most people don't eat them raw, because the taste is extremely bitter and sour. However, once cooked with sugar or honey, the flavor becomes much softer and very aromatic. In Russian culture, kalina is a symbolic fruit. It often appears in songs, poetry, and folklore. For centuries, people believed kalina had healing properties. It was used to treat colds, fever, and even heart problems. Today, Russians still make kalina jam, herbal teas, syrups, and traditional desserts. The berries usually ripen in September and October, and after the first frost, the bitterness becomes much milder, which is why many people harvest them after cold weather arrives. Now, the next fruit is one of the rarest berries in northern Russia, and many people say it tastes better than strawberries. 9. Knyazhenica, Arctic raspberry. This berry is called knyazhenica, pronounced knyazhenica. In English, it's often called Arctic raspberry. It grows in northern forests and tundra regions of Russia. The berries look like small raspberries, but usually have a deeper purple color. And the flavor? Many people say it's one of the most delicious berries in the world. Sweet, aromatic, slightly tropical. Some describe the taste as raspberry mixed with pineapple. In fact, in the past, this berry was considered so special that it was reserved for royalty and nobility. That's actually where the name comes from. Knyaz in Russian means prince, so the name basically means the prince's berry. Today, it's still quite rare because it grows mostly in wild northern areas. But farmers in Scandinavia and Russia are trying to cultivate it again. And now we come to a fruit that many Americans actually know, but they probably don't realize how important it is in Russian traditions. 10. Boyarishnik, Hawthorn. This fruit is called boyarishnik, pronounced boyarishnik. In English, it's known as hawthorn berry. These small red fruits grow on thorny bushes across Europe, Russia, and Asia. The berries are small and firm, with a mild, sweet taste. But hawthorn is famous mainly for its medicinal uses. For hundreds of years, Russians have used hawthorn to support heart health. It's commonly turned into herbal tea tinctures, jams, and syrups. The berries usually ripen in early autumn. Interestingly, hawthorn trees can live for hundreds of years. Some old trees in Europe are believed to be over 400 years old. So this small fruit has a very long history in traditional medicine. 11. Brusnica, Lingonberry. The next fruit is called brusnica, pronounced brusnica. In English, it's known as Lingonberry. This berry grows all across northern forests of Russia, especially in Siberia and the taiga. The berries are small, round, and bright red. At first glance, they look a bit like cranberries, but the taste is slightly different. Lingonberries are tart, slightly sweet, and very refreshing. If you've ever eaten Swedish food, you might already know them. Lingonberry sauce is very popular in Scandinavian cuisine, but in Russia, the berry is just as important. People use it for jam sauces, juice pies, and traditional fruit drinks called mors. One interesting thing about lingonberries is that they contain natural preservatives. Because of this, fresh berries can actually be stored in water for months without spoiling. That made them extremely valuable in the past, especially during long winters. Now, the next fruit looks almost identical to blueberries, but it's actually a different plant. 12. Golubica, wild blueberry. This fruit is called golubica, pronounced golubica. In English, it's usually called wild blueberry or bog blueberry. These berries grow in cold northern regions, often in wetlands and forest areas. The berries are dark blue with a light powdery coating. They look similar to the blueberries sold in American grocery stores, but wild Russian blueberries are usually smaller and much more flavorful. The taste is stronger, sweeter, and more aromatic. In Russia, people gather these berries in huge quantities during summer. They are used for pies, desserts, jam, juice, and even traditional dumplings. Wild blueberries usually ripen in July and August, and berry picking in the forest is still a very common summer activity for many Russian families. Now, the next fruit is something many people outside Russia have never heard about, but it grows in forests all across the country. 13. Kostyanika, stone bramble. This unusual berry is called kostyanika, pronounced kostyanika. In English, it's sometimes called stone bramble. The berries look similar to small red raspberries, but unlike raspberries, each fruit usually has only a few large segments. The name actually comes from the word kost, which means bone or stone. That's because the seeds inside the berry are quite hard. Kostyanika grows mostly in cool forest regions, often in the shade. The flavor is very refreshing, sweet and sour at the same time, similar to pomegranate or sour raspberry. Because the berries are small and delicate, they are usually eaten fresh or made into light desserts and drinks. They ripen in mid to late summer. And for many Russians, this berry brings back memories of walking through the forest and picking berries by hand. Now, the next fruit is extremely famous in traditional medicine, and chances are you've already seen it before. 14. Shipovnik, rosehip. This fruit is called shipovnik, pronounced shipovnik. In English, it's known as rosehip. These fruits grow on wild rose bushes across Russia, Europe, and Asia. The berries are usually bright red or orange and oval in shape. They appear in autumn after the rose flowers fall. Rosehips are incredibly nutritious. In fact, they contain huge amounts of vitamin C, sometimes even more than lemons. For centuries, Russians have used rosehips to make herbal tea syrup, jam, and medicinal drinks. Rosehip tea is especially popular during winter. It has a slightly sweet, slightly sour flavor and a beautiful deep red color. During difficult times in history, rosehips were an important natural source of vitamins. People would collect them in huge baskets in the forest. And finally, we arrive at the last fruit on today's list. This one might look familiar, but its flavor is far more intense than anything from the supermarket. 15. Lesnaya zemlyanika, wild forest strawberry. The final fruit is called Lesnaya zemlyanika, pronounced zemlyanika. In English, it's known as wild forest strawberry. These tiny strawberries grow naturally in meadows and forest clearings across Russia. They are much smaller than regular strawberries, but the flavor is incredible. Wild strawberries are extremely sweet, aromatic, and intensely fruity. Many people say they taste 10 times stronger than normal strawberries. Because the berries are so small, collecting them takes patience. Sometimes it takes hours to fill a small basket, but the reward is worth it. In Russia, these berries are used for jam, desserts, syrups, and sometimes simply eaten fresh with sugar and cream. For many Russians, the smell of wild strawberries instantly reminds them of summer in the countryside. So today we explored 15 fascinating fruits from Russia. Some grow in the frozen forests of Siberia. Some grow in Arctic swamps. And some grow quietly in wild meadows and mountain valleys. But together, they show something surprising. Russia isn't just a land of snow and forests. It's also home to an incredible variety of unique fruits that most of the world has never heard about. Now I'm curious, which of these fruits would you want to try the most? The 5-flavor lemonic? The golden cloudberry? Or maybe the tiny but powerful wild forest strawberry? Write your answer in the comments. And if you enjoyed discovering these unusual fruits, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because in the next video, we're going to explore something even more unusual. Strange Russian vegetables you've probably never seen before. And trust me, some of them look completely insane. Thanks for watching Russian Grows, and I'll see you in the next video.